circadian rhythm. So what is it? So in the first figure, in the upper one, you can see the body temperature, right? So this is 6 in the morning and 12 p.m., right? So you can see that body temperature during this time is about 37 degrees Celsius. But after the midnight, it decreases to 36. And it remains 36 until 6 in the morning. And this is repeated every day. So there is an oscillation of body temperature every day. Sometimes it's 37, other times during the night it's 36, and this happens every day. So we call this circadian rhythm for body temperature, right? So it's not a constant and fixed value. Another one, growth hormone. It's very low in the blood, but just after the sleep, it increases to a higher peak, right? And this happens every night. We call this circadian rhythm for growth hormone. We have another circadian rhythm for cortisol. It reaches a peak just before waking, right? Then it decreases gradually. So it's a stress hormone. So we prepare us for experiencing a lot of stresses during the day, right? Circadian rhythm for cortisol. So for any physiological parameter, we have a circadian rhythm. So any parameter is not fixed. They are all oscillating during the day. And this is repeated every day. We call it circadian rhythm. But how temperature knows the time for increase and the time for decrease? How the growth, growth hormone is released from pituitary gland. How pituitary gland knows when is the time of the day and they should release or secrete the hormone or not secrete it? Do they have a watch?
No.
Actually, they have. Okay, so there is an internal clock in the brain called supraplasmatic nucleus, SCN. This nucleus has several neurons, about 20,000 neurons, and these neurons show changes in the firing rate during the different times of the day, right? So during the day, they show more firing rate, and in the night, they show less firing rate. They release GABA, and they target different areas of the brain, different areas responsible for different functions, like cognition and sleep and wakefulness, appetite, autonomic nervous system, endocrine system, GI system, everything. So, this is the internal clock of our body. For every clock, we need a mechanism. So, you can consider a sound clock, right? So, all of the sounds are up. They go down gradually, right? When all of them go down, we change the clock, okay? And it will start again. So this way you can keep the time, because the time for any part of this sound to go down is always the same. So this way you can keep the time. Or, for example, in your watch, you may have several gears. They turn continuously, and the time that it takes for any of this to turn a complete circle is always fixed, right? So what about neurons? How they can keep the time? Okay. So, this is the mechanism. So, there is a relation between transcription, translation. Transcription of some genes, translation of these genes into proteins. So, and the time that it takes for this transcription and translation is always fixed. So this way, these neurons can keep the time. How? So, let's see. There are two transcription factors called clock and BMAL1. Actually, this word doesn't mean this clock. Okay? It's an abbreviation for a protein. So you can see the full name in the notes. Okay? So clock is a protein which makes a dimer with another protein called BMAL1. So clock, BMAL1. They make a dimer. They enter the nucleus, bind to some genes, and increase transcription of some mRNA. So mRNA for a protein called CRY1 or CRY2 increases. mRNA for gene pair or period also increases. So mRNA for these two come out of the nucleus. They are translated into proteins. So period, pictogram. They make another dimer, return to the nucleus, and they cause dissociation of these two from the genome. Right? What is the result? mRNA for these decreases. This protein decreases. The level of this dimer in the nucleus decreases. When we don't have this, these two can bind again to the genome. Right? So again, they start transcription.
Okay.
mRNA is made, translation, inhibition of this. So there is always a continuous cycle of these two proteins. At some time, clock and BMAL1 are at their highest level. Those two are at their lowest level. Right? After a fixed time, after 12 hours, it is changed reversely. Okay? These two come down, those others go up. Okay? So this way the neurons can keep the time. And the action potential is sent to different areas. Okay? So, okay. SCN neurons also receive information from the eyes. So from the retina of the eyes, information go to the what was the name? Suprachiasmatic nucleus. And suprachiasmatic nucleus can regulate the time. How this time reaches cells in the body. For example, there is a kidney here that doesn't have any access to the brain. So we have a clock inside the brain, SCN. But how does the kidney knows about the time? Okay, so there are several mechanisms, neural mechanisms and metabolic or endocrine mechanism. Let's see one of them. Okay, so if the suprachiasmatic nucleus knows the time, it can increase or it can decrease secretion of a hormone called melatonin. Right? So let's see the mechanism. From the eyes, signals go to the hypothalamus. In the hypothalamus, they reach suprachiasmatic nucleus, SCN, which is the internal clock. The response from here goes to the paraventricular nucleus here. It sends the neuron to the sympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system sends neuron to a gland in the brain called pineal gland. And this one secretes melatonin. So during the day, light is on. This its mechanism decreases secretion of melatonin. So melatonin is low in the blood. But in the night, when it's dark, there is no light here, this nucleus is activated, sympathetic nervous system activates the pineal gland. Pineal gland secretes melatonin. So melatonin increases during the night. When? Between 2 and 4 a.m. So melatonin is a hormone and can go through the blood to all cells in the body. So any cell that has a receptor for melatonin knows the time of day. When it's very high in concentration, any cell knows that it's the night and it's about 2 to 4 a.m. Right? So this way, all cells in the body can know the time, so they can regulate their function. So GI system can regulate its function. The urinary system can regulate its function. Okay? So, please read these slides by yourself. Okay, sexual drive and behavior. And also this one. So let me talk about this one. Okay, reward system. So, in this figure, you can see a rat in its cage. We implanted, or they implanted, actually we also do this in our lab, okay? But, so in this figure, they implanted an electrode in the brain, for example, in the lateral hypothalamus or any areas of the brain, okay? So, the electrode is connected through a piece of wire to a stimulator. Another wire connects the stimulator to a lever inside the cage, right? When the rat presses the lever, this device is on. It activates some electrical signal that goes through this electrode into the brain. So the rat can activate its brain. Right? Okay. When the rat presses the lever, the brain is activated. So, depending on the location of the electrode, the behavior of the rat is different. In some of the areas of the brain, electrical stimulation is very pleasurable for the rat. So, they press the lever, they feel pleasure. So they continue pressure, okay? They keep pressing the lever on, and they continue, maybe for several thousands of times, they press the lever. Sometimes they die because of this stimulation, but they feel pleasure, and they do this, okay? So this way, by this experiment, we can know locations of the brain that are responsible for pleasure. One of the areas is the lateral hypothalamus. Another area is ventromedial hypothalamus. Right? So stimulation of neurons here causes pleasure. Actually, we have a reward circuit in the brain that includes the lateral hypothalamus. There are also other regions. You know, the ventral tegmental area. Ventral tegmental area is a region that secretes dopamine. Actually, we have two regions that secrete dopamine in the brain. The first one is the substantia nigra. Dopamine is released in the striatum, and it's related to movement. Right? Another region is ventral tegmental area that is located close to the substantia nigra. It also releases dopamine, but the dopamine which is released from here is actually for another purpose. It's for pleasure. Okay, anything which is which cause enjoyment actually secretes dopamine. For example, when you read a very good book, you feel pleasure, right? During that pleasure, dopamine is secreted from the ventral tegmental area, and this dopamine is released in part of the basal ganglia, nucleus accumbens. Other dopamines are released in the cortex, prefrontal cortex. ventral tegmental area, VTA, neurons go to nucleus accumbens, part of the striatum, and prefrontal cortex, they release dopamine. Dopamine causes pleasure. So anything that stimulates neurons here is pleasure. Like reading a book, listening to music, eating, sexual behavior, anything which is pleasurable causes dopamine release. Some drugs like morphine, cocaine, others also stimulate ventral tegmental area neurons, and they cause very large amount of dopamine release, and they are very pleasurable at first, so they increase the probability for repeating the use, right? So this way, the person may increase use and use, okay? And this way they become addicted, right? So let's see this one, which is the main feature of this session. I told you that the topic of this session is emotions and motivation. What is the difference? Motivation means there is an internal need and an external possibility. Okay? So, you feel hungry, so you need internal need. And the food is here. Okay? So, external possibility. Internal need, external possibility. So, you are motivated for eating the food. Eating is a behavior. So, an internal need causes a behavior directed toward an external possibility. So we call this motivation. So you're thirsty and you have water here, so you have motivation to drink the water. What happens after that? After the behavior, you feel pleasure, reward. Right? So what is the importance of this reward? This reward causes repeating this behavior whenever you feel thirsty. So reward ensures repetition of the behavior, which is important for your survival. Okay, so you can think about a child. Okay, so they try everything. Sometimes they feel pleasure. Sometimes they feel pain. If they feel pleasure, they continue to do that behavior. If they feel pain, they stop doing that. So we have two different circuits in the brain, one for pleasure, the other one for pain. For punishment. We call that punishment. So they shape our behavior. And this way, we get older and older, and we shape our behavior. We do some behaviors that are important for us, that are essential for our survival, and we avoid actually behaviors that are against our survival. Right? So, and this is regulated by a very small area of the brain, hypothalamus. So, a small area of the brain regulate everything, our body water, temperature, regulation of heart rate, regulation of breathing, okay, regulation of feeding, everything. So we have a very large area that remains for thinking. We never think about the level of or the amount of energy we've got from our breakfast or from our lunch, and we don't calculate our energy need, okay? Why? Because we have a very small area that is continuously calculating this for us, although we are not aware of that. So anytime that the level of the glucose inside our blood goes down, some neurons in the hypothalamus are activated, lateral hypothalamus, right? They cause hunger. We actually eat something, in order to increase our energy. Okay? So, motivation and reward are important for our survival. Motivation comes first, then we have actions or behavior. The result is reward. And reward ensures having this action whenever we have this motivation. So, actually I talked about punishment and also the importance of reward and punishment. So, in the second part, we have seen the function of hypothalamus. I told you that there are several nuclei in the hypothalamus. Some of them are important for water, body water, others for feeding, and so on. Right? Please read the autonomic nervous system. Also, I'll put the files on the desktop, okay? So I will put 3 files, one for cerebellum and basal ganglia, the second one for emotions and motivation, and the third one for autonomic nervous system. Tomorrow morning, we will start with the sleep, okay? Sleep and wakefulness. In the next session, I will talk about biofunctions of the brain. We'll see language, memory, learning, right? Cognition, things like that. And in the afternoon session, we will have a practical session. I'll show you how to use a reflex hammer to see knee-jerk movement, okay? And then our course will be finished, and you can make ready for your midterm and final exam, okay? So, see you tomorrow.